you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too muscular, you're too lean, you're too this, you're too that, blah, 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 blah. Alright guys, so today I am talking all about body shaming and body positivity. So it seems with social media nowadays, body shaming is everywhere, and it's become so common for people to say things to others that they maybe wouldn't say to their face. So I know sometimes when I log into social media, so often, more than not, when someone posts a picture, there are comments tearing that person down and critiquing their body and judging how they look without knowing the person or knowing the story behind that photo. So I want to talk about body shaming, what it is, why people do it, and ways to cope with it. Alright, so what is body shaming? So body shaming is also called fat shaming, and it's an act in which individuals are judged negatively based on their physical appearance. The Oxford English Dictionary describes it as the act or practice of humiliating a person based on their physical body type by making critical and mocking statements about their body, shape, and size. And according to research, so about 95% of girls say they've been victims of body shaming, but it's not just girls. Boys, about 65% of boys say they've experienced it. So what is it that makes it so easy for another person to say something negative about another person? I think that if you wouldn't say something to a person to their face, then you have no right typing that out. I know a lot of times you're behind that screen, you're on that keyboard, you have that keyboard courage, and you think, you know, this won't affect anybody, this has no repercussions, this has no consequences if I comment this, but it does. There's a person reading those comments, and that kind of negativity, those kind of remarks can tear a person down. I've also read that people who are judged negatively or who are victims of fat shaming, who have been body shamed, start to feel negatively about themselves, even more so. So if you're already feeling bad and you're already feeling like you're not in control of your body, imagine adding to that feelings of depression or feelings of anxiety, feeling not good enough. It's just going to make the situation worse. So if you're honestly concerned about how a person looks or their health, then try saying something positive, or try offering help or offering advice in a kind way, not making them feel bad because of how they look. And I'm sure people who are really overweight or who are obese know how they look, but a lot of times you don't know a person's situation. You have no idea if this person is trying to lose weight. You don't know their struggle. You don't know if they have a health problem that's preventing them from losing weight. You don't know if they have an addiction or a mental health disorder that's keeping them from being their best self. So I think before we judge a person, we need to stop and, as cliche as it sounds, and put ourselves in their shoes. Speaking from personal experience, this is something that I'm very passionate about, because I used to be 30, 40 pounds heavier. I think the heaviest I was about 140, and the leanest I was 88 pounds. So I have been on both sides of the spectrum, and I've received both types of body shaming. So when I was 88 pounds, I got that you're too lean, you're too skinny, you need to eat more, eat a sandwich. And when I was heavier, you know, I got the, oh, you're pudgy, maybe you shouldn't have that snack. But what I think is interesting is, coming from a Latina, Hispanic background, a Hispanic culture, when I was heavier, I didn't get as many negative comments as when I was leaner. And I think that has something to do with the culture. So when I was lean, when I was 88 pounds, I got it all the time, like, oh, you don't eat enough, oh, you must be starving. And what people didn't know is that I just had really good metabolism. Once I lost the weight, my metabolism was on fire. Like, I could not eat enough to gain weight, and I was trying to gain weight, I was trying to gain muscle, and it wasn't until I figured out what worked for my body, what the amount of carbs, my macros, the amount of carbs, the amount of fat, the amount of protein that I needed to eat, that I was able to finally gain weight and come to a size that I'm happy with. And it's not perfect. There are times, yes, when I look in the mirror and I think, man, I need to lose a few more pounds, especially after being so lean. I did compete, and once you achieve that level of stage lean, that look where your muscles are striated and you have the six-pack abs, it's hard not to walk around looking like that. And it does, if you let it does play with your mind. It's like, man, I don't look as good as I used to. But I think that goes back to body positivity, and you need to be comfortable in your own skin. You need to be able to accept your body and love your body. And also, body positivity to me means having a healthy relationship with your body. It wasn't until I decided that my body and I were going to be friends that I was able to be happy with how I looked. And 6 years ago, I ended up in the hospital. I was in grad school. I was about 140 pounds at my heaviest, and I ended up in the hospital with a pain in my side, and the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. They had to give me morphine because I couldn't eat and I couldn't swallow, and it had already been days that I was suffering from this condition, and they could not figure out what it was. But I knew what was wrong. I knew that every single day for so long, while I had been in grad school, I was eating like I was still in undergrad. I was eating like a freshman. I was having hot Cheetos every day, and cappuccinos, and tacos, and I was not feeding my body what it needed to be healthy. So it wasn't until I said, you know what, no more. This is not how I go out. And I was pre-diabetic, and I guess I'm always going to be pre-diabetic because it runs in my family. My grandma died of diabetes, and I had to say enough is enough. Like, I love my body, and we're going to be friends, and I'm going to take care of you. And once I did that, man, my relationship with how I felt about myself just changed, and I was able to gain that confidence because I was going to the gym, I was working out, I was making my body do things that made me feel proud that I could do them. And not only that, just having the discipline to feed my body properly, to say, you know what, no, I'm not gonna have a cupcake. And I love cupcakes. Like, I love cupcakes more than any girl. Like, if you let me, I would have a cupcake every day. But that's not healthy. And the point that I'm trying to say is, it's not right to body shame someone. It's not, because you never know what that person is going through. And at the same time, we should encourage body positivity, and we should encourage, if a person isn't healthy, encourage them rather than put them down and keep shaming them. Encourage them to find alternatives to take care of themselves and to make their health a priority. Just today, I was on Twitter and this pops up. It was a cover of Cosmo magazine in the UK, and it features a plus size model. I believe it's Tess Holliday. And it says, Tess Holliday wants the haters to kiss her ass. As soon as she posted this, she got a slew of negative comments. I think it was even on the media there in the UK about how this was not a good message to be sending, how this was not body positivity, how this was promoting obesity. I think people were missing the message. It's not about promoting obesity. It was promoting that she felt good, and it doesn't say that she felt that she was in the best shape of her life or she felt that she was healthy. It was about accepting your body and the stage that it's in. And I talked about this earlier where Rihanna was quoted in Vogue magazine saying she was thick now, and how she loved her body in the different sizes, whether she was a little bit heavier or thicker or whether she was skinnier, and she loved being able to dress her body for whatever shape it was. And I completely agree with that sentiment. I think as women, we need to accept that our body does fluctuate, and like I said, it goes back, body positivity goes back to taking care of your body. So I don't think that it's right for us to judge whether or not this woman is healthy. We don't know if she's trying to get healthier. We don't know if she is on a weight loss program. And we also don't even know her health records. I remember when I was like 140 pounds and I went to the hospital, the nurse told me, oh, I wish I was 140 pounds. And here I was, my body literally rejecting what I was putting in it. Here was my body breaking down, and she thought it was a good weight to be, but it wasn't a good weight for me because I'm a tiny human, I'm a tiny person, and that was too much weight and too much. It was just too much for my body, my kidneys to filter through, I'm sure. It was just too much for my body to handle being at that weight. So I don't think that we can judge a person based on how they look, but we can promote feeling good about yourself. And I always say, you know, I'm proud of past self, I'm proud of who I was back then, because that person made the decision to be healthier. That person got up every day to run, to work out 30 minutes. And there were times where I couldn't even run a mile, but it was that person, it was me back then when I was much heavier, that got me to where I am today. And she's not alone. She's not the only one that has dealt with it. If you go to HuffPost and you look up body shaming, like there are so many articles of women and other actresses who have dealt with it and how they've responded to it in their own way. If you go on there, there's Rihanna, there's Ariel Winter, Kelly Clarkson, Jennifer Lopez, Selena Gomez. And I remember Selena Gomez tweeting out after she had her surgery that her focus was on being the best person she could be, not on whether or not she was 5 or 10 pounds heavier. All right, how do you deal with body shaming if you have experienced it? And I have, and I think you can either ignore it, especially if you're comfortable with who you are and you're okay with how you look. I think Selena Gomez responded really well after haters came and discussed how she looked after her surgery. She said, you know what, I'm trying to be the best version of myself right now, and that doesn't include what my weight is. I thought that was a great response. Or, I mean, if you can ignore it, or you can clap back. You can use it as a time to educate a person. I remember Kelly Ripa posted a picture of herself in a bikini, it wasn't even Kelly Ripa. It was Kelly Ripa's husband posting a picture of her on the beach, and women just tearing her apart and saying, you shouldn't look like this. A woman who's in her 40s shouldn't look like this. You look like you need to eat. This is not healthy. And Mark Consuelos actually had to respond back that she looked great and she took care of her body and she worked out and she made that time. But yeah, like what is the need for that? What's the need for expressing that opinion? And I think he had a great response. I think so many celebrities just really take it upon themselves to educate people. And when you are body shamed, it's a great opportunity to educate someone. So I was heavier and I started losing the weight and people were telling me I was getting too skinny. It gave me the platform to say, hey, you know what? I was pre-diabetic. My grandma died of diabetes, and I will not follow this cycle. And I am eating what I need to eat to prevent myself from getting these diseases. And I don't want to spend my life on dialysis. And so this is why I'm making this decision. And once you're able to tell people that and they understand, I feel that's how we can make an impact. And I think my final message would be to people is just be nice. Like if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say it at all. I mean, think before you type something out, before you send that message, because there is someone on the receiving end of that. And if it's not going to make someone's life better, then why waste your time on it? And I think a lot of times when people do feel the need to body shame someone else, it's something that they don't feel right within themselves. Maybe they don't have that confidence, or maybe they don't feel good about themselves. They have insecurities, but there's no need to project that on somebody else, because at the end of the day, we all have our hang-ups. Like I have cellulite, I have places where I would love to build muscle and lose fat, but it's not that easy. You know, we're all working on ourselves, and I think we need to encourage that more, instead of pointing out the flaws, because we know our flaws. Like we as human beings, we know we all have things that we would like to change about ourselves, and we don't need somebody else pointing that out to us. All right, that's all I have today on body positivity and body shaming. Comment below if you have any questions about body shaming, if you've dealt with it. What do you think about that cover? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter @CC Torres for more. Talk to you later.